Hello everyone, it's coming upon, well, it's past 4 o'clock and I started just past noon. So I will make this, for the sake of my survival, the last lecture of the day. And this one, we're obviously not going to be able to cover the entire story of marriage in the play. In this lecture, I'll try concluding what I'm saying about Malvolio and maybe start alluding to how fantasy and possibility kind of slip one into the other in the play, right? And that I think is the overarching motif of the play's take on marriage, right? That it is part possibility, part fantasy, and that fantasy can be nightmare or dream, just like in Midsummer Night's Dream. So I think it'll be interesting to see what we can do collaboratively on Monday when we talk for the first 10, 15 minutes of class time about Twelfth Night before entering into Hamlet, right, into a conversation about Hamlet. So with that, let me jump into the latter half of the Malvolio conversation. So Malvolio has, as I mentioned in the last lecture, begun his journey into marriage by thinking about possibilities and thinking about precedents and thinking about realistic ways in which the institution has begun to change, right? And therefore gives him hope that he too might have a marriage that is a profitable one, right? And that very quickly either spirals into nightmare. It spirals into this fantasy vision, a dream, or it spirals into a real self-loving image that he starts concocting, right, of himself. So with that, of course, comes the entire prank that the convention-maintaining characters like Mariah, is she a convention-maintaining character? Let us think about that. But convention-maintaining characters like Toby kind of mobilize their anger and their contempt, right, to punish a Malvolio figure for having the courage, let's say, to dream of class transformation, right, through marriage. So he is very roundly put down, right, through the mechanism of a prank, which is just altogether funny and altogether cruel, right? I mean, there is no denying that these two things are working together, and very much like what Festi has been saying throughout, that, you know, the cheverel glove that language is enables it to be soft and edgy, right? And it's that which is mobilized to fool Malvolio. They use language, and of course it works wonderfully because Mariah is an expert user of language and manipulator of language, just as are so many of the other characters in this play. So in the end, Malvolio is scolded and shamed publicly for aspirations to a marriage that he does not deserve by birth, right? And he is exiled first into this dark space of madness, the madhouse, but then into say the exiled space of being forgotten, right? Nobody is really thinking about Malvolio, and the only reason he is reinserted into the narrative, into the plot, is because he might know where the captain is, right? And he has to be asked about this guy's whereabouts. And so the way the play brings Malvolio back, and let's take a look at that. This is the final act and scene. Duke Orsino, who is now, he's kind of found Viola to be conveniently a woman, right? And everything promises to be okay as long as, right, this captain figure shows up. Captain Guy shows up and confirms the story that has been shared. So he says, "Madam, I'm most apt to embrace your offer," he says to Viola. "Your master quits you, and for your service done him, blah, blah, blah." Oh, no, I have just misread. It's in the same act and scene. The Duke is promising to wed Viola when she is a woman, and Viola says around line 269, "The captain that did bring me first on shore hath my maid's garments. He upon some action is now in durance at Malvolio's suit, a gentleman and follower of my lady's." Right? Olivia says, "He shall enlarge him. Fetch Malvolio hither. And yet, alas, now I remember me, they say, poor gentleman, he's much distract. A most extracting frenzy of mine own from my remembrance clearly banished his." How does he, Sirrah? Right, so this is the way, after everybody else's marriage plots have hatched and are blossoming and, are going to be fulfilled, more or less, just about everybody's. Excuse me. Ooh, allergies again. Well, they are my constant companion, sadly. So after just about everyone's marriage plots are being brought to fruition, Malvolio is remembered because there is a glitch, right? There is a pause in Orsino and Viola's marriage plot that he can correct and figure out. So the reason he is brought back to memory from the exiled state of being forgotten is not for his own sake, it's for the sake of another, right? And this is the world that he must inhabit to suit the other. Only now Malvolio refuses to play that game, right? He refuses to participate, and he promises revenges, and he walks out, right? But there is, again, Orsino sends after him, right? Because he's important, again, to his own marriage. Throughout the play, the transgressors, the ones who refuse to give over their fantasies, give over to other people's fantasies being somehow more viable and therefore more important than their own. The characters that refuse to play along are those that are left out of the marriage loop, right? So there's Malvolio, who is left out, who promises revenges, but there's also Antonio, right, who is left out. In so far as Antonio loves Sebastian and fiercely guards him, is jealous jealously protective of him, and gives him all that he has, right? His life, just about. Insofar as his love remains in the shadows, right? Not just his love, he remains in the shadows as somebody whose unrequited love might even go punished because he has last been imprisoned by Orsino's men, right? Orsino's officers. And as the play ends, we don't hear about Sebastian, wooing everyone and having his friend freed as a result. We don't hear about Sebastian even thinking anything, right? Sebastian just is going along with the flow, right? He is going to benefit from his proximity to Cesario. And I want to talk about this on Monday, so I'm not going to talk about Cesario and Olivia or Viola and Olivia's marriage in the end. Through the body of Sebastian. I'm not going to talk about that today, but I will do so on Monday, so I'm going to leave that for us. But what I would like to draw attention to is how Antonio is punished just like Malvolio is punished through a sort of enforced loneliness, right? An enforced isolation. In both of their cases, it is because they have not just aspired towards, but acted upon their aspiration, right? They have done things. Malvolio has smiled and he's gone cross-gartered before Olivia, and he has been rude to people, and he's taken action based on thinking about precedence and thinking about possibility and letting his fantasy take over, right? Antonio has literally chased after or followed. He might be called a stalker in the modern world, wouldn't he? He has taken actions to safeguard his love and to protect it, and he has given material to this lover, or to the object of his love, right? And while the world he inhabits is a dangerous world, he knows, right? Things will go wrong, horribly wrong, if he should enter Illyria, the city limits of Illyria, and yet he cannot help himself. And he does follow. And lo and behold, when he encounters, when he encounters Sebastian, of course it is Cesario, he is forced to confront the betrayal, right? Or what he imagines is the betrayal that he experiences at the hands of Sebastian. So, and none of that is corrected. So these are two men who transgress the limits that are imposed on them by different external institutions, right? That determine marriage to be appropriate only if it is between certain types of people. For their violation, they are punished, and the punishment is, it's an abject loneliness that they must suffer. Malvolio walks out saying he will find a way to make this suffering end, right? And the end is going to be violent, and it's going to be revenge. He's going to gain the righteous moral ground. From Antonio, we only receive silence. What does this imply for the other marriages of the play, for the main marriages of the play? I think we should talk about this in person on Monday, right? But I think keeping the formula of possibility and precedence, combining with fantasy and dreamscape, gives us a sense of what kind of marriages the main marriages are going to turn out to be, right? Where there is a boy-man marriage, and there is a lady boy-man marriage, or lady girl boy marriage. These possibilities really start flowering from the seeds sown by the non-major marriages, right? So with that, I will wrap up the lectures for today. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I hope you are on campus in our classroom tomorrow at 10. Bye. Thank you for your time and attention.